Monday, February 15th. I'm Rim.
I'm Scott.
And this is Geeknights. Tonight, Google Buzz reminds us about privacy on the internet.
Let's do this. So, Rim, you know the 4 laws of physics?
The 4, I believe there are more than 4.
No, well, I mean, you know, the No, there's only 4. There were 3, and I added a new one. Don't worry about those other ones.
Okay.
Otherwise, I can't make my joke if you consider the laws of physics that are other than Newton's 3 laws.
I'm not quite sure where you're going with this. So you meant Newton's laws.
Well, there are many laws in the universe, right? But there is one that people have referred to as a law that wasn't actually a law, but I have just proved that it actually is a law.
And which law would this be? Because
Murphy's Law.
I wouldn't even say that's a law so much as a divine revelation.
Regardless, the anything that can go wrong will go wrong is absolutely, it is as it's set in stone as every action has the equal but opposite reaction.
Now,
Those are equally 100% true.
That does not make sense, because if that were true, right now, every atom in all the recording equipment that we're using right now would have spontaneously exploded while simultaneously Krauser appeared in real life and raped us to death.
It did. That was just in another universe that we're not in.
Man, I'm glad I'm not in that universe.
I know, right? So, what can and did go wrong? So I have this car, and I bought this car, and I paid for the whole car. I own the whole thing, and I was like, oh, man, I have this car. It's an awesome car. I bought it brand new. It's totally awesome. And I used it, and I used it, and I used it, and I used it. And
Yep.
Oh, it was so great.
That's like the Rim and Scott convention mobile right now.
And my plan with the car was that I would keep it forever and ever and ever until it died, and it was like 100 years old.
I remember you talking about how, this Mazda 3 one day is going to be a fancy antique.
It's gonna be like an antique, It'll be like the year 2040, and I'll have a car from 2006, and it'll be like a classic, and I'll be like, yeah, check this shit out. When they don't even have gas cars anymore, I'll have a gas car, and I'll have like special gas tank, to drive at the antique car show, and it'd be totally sweet.
You have some interface where the gas tank would be, there's just a battery that somehow acts like gas.
No, I'll have actual gas that's stored up, I'll have to pay like $100 a gallon for it from the antique car gas selling guy.
Because, someday we're going to run out
the same guy who sells leaded gas to work in like a Model T or whatever.
We're going to run out of dead dinosaur juice, and then what?
Nah, I don't know. Oh, anyway. So I moved to New York, and my strategy was, okay, I have this car. I don't really need it that often, but I do still want to keep it until it's a classic. So what do? As I say, I'll work really hard on stuff and try to make more money. And if I can make more money, then I can get enough money to buy a parking space.
Because the parking space where we are
is like $130 a month.
Oh, it's only $125 in my building.
Well, it was $125, but actually I think someone took the last parking space.
There's one opening right now in my building. I was for a little while, it was bonus time. I was like, maybe I'll buy a car.
The thing is, I could get one that's like maybe out in Long Island. I don't have to get the one at my building.
Well, I thought about it. I was like, maybe I'll buy a car. And while it would be really useful for a couple of really specific things, like going to get groceries?
Yeah, like there's a Costco really close to me. The thing is, this Costco is sort of a little bit out of walking distance. Maybe it would be...
Wait, even if it was walking distance, it's Costco. What are you going to carry back?
Yeah,
1,000 gallons of orange juice?
Even if I got one of those grandma, grocery push carts that everyone has.
I'm getting one of those.
Right, even if I got one, I couldn't even put like one Costco apple juice in there. I would have to get like a giant one.
What you do, Scott, buy a real shopping cart.
Where am I going to store this real shopping cart?
Chain it up on the street like a bike.
And a homeless person will take it, and it'll become their shopping cart.
Only if they've got a hacksaw.
You ever seen a homeless person? They've already got one shopping cart, and it's definitely got a hacksaw in it. It's probably got, it's like a bag of holding. It's got everything in there.
Why is the hobo, they're not really hobos. Anyway, I like saying hobo, even though none of the people I refer to as hobos are actually hobos.
Uh-huh.
But why are they going to steal your shopping cart when they can just go to the grocery store and pick one that's unlocked and just sitting there waiting?
Because if they see one that's not at the grocery store, they'll feel better about taking that one, because obviously it doesn't belong to anyone. It's been lost. Whereas if one's at the grocery store, they might feel bad about stealing it a little bit.
I'll bet it's more of a hey crackhead situation.
That's true too. But yeah, you've seen homeless people have multiple shopping carts, all right? They are
sometimes
looking...
like tied together in a little train.
Yeah. So, I have this car, and other than like if I wanted to do certain things, it would not really be useful. You know, it's like, when am I going to use it? Well, I was going to use it this weekend. I'd use it maybe to go to my parents' house, but I can take the train. I don't need to use it for that. I could use it to go to a convention, but I don't need to use it for that. So there are certain things, you know, basically the times I would use it are extremely, extremely limited. And even those times that I would use it, there are viable alternatives that are not really worse.
Well, even like for me, I got to go skiing. Renting a car is not that much money for the 4 or 5 times I go skiing in a winter.
So it did not take very long, right, for me to switch from being like, oh, I'm going to keep this car forever, to fuck this car, it's a hassle, it's a pain in my ass, get it the hell out of here.
I'll bet the catalyst
it took about like a week before I'm just like, fuck this car.
Well, that part of that catalyst was the fact that you were doing the alternate side of the street parking, so you had to keep moving it.
But even if I didn't have to move it, it's basically just having it there. It's a burden. I'm paying insurance money and I'm not using it.
Well, as Jared said,
if I took all my insurance money from the whole year, I could buy multiple plane tickets and have money left over.
As Jared said, you buck the trend. Most people who move to the city, like, just hold on to their car. Like, they linger, they keep it. They're like, I'm going to keep this car for like a year or two before they realize it's pointless and get rid of it.
Mm-hmm. So it's only been a couple of months and I'm getting rid of it. So I'm smarter than those people who keep onto it for a year.
Yep.
So I tried to find someone to buy it and nobody's buying cars. But our friend wanted to buy it, so I sold it to them. And then, of course, I just mailed them the papers. And then the next day, car didn't start.
Huh. It's funny, because I remember a while back, same thing happened. You tried to blame it on me for turning on a light that I didn't turn on.
I think you did turn on the light, and I think that caused the problem. I can still blame you.
It sounds like your alternator's shot.
Yeah, I went down. I had a guy, he came. First of all, he tried to boost it. It boosted. It started. He unclipped, and the car turned off. Which I did not think could happen, because it's like, okay, the battery gets the engine started.
Now, battery does a bunch of other stuff, too.
I know, the battery makes the lights turn on and all that kind of stuff, right? And the thing is, the lights are working. It's like the battery has juice. It was like the engine started, but then as soon as he unplugged the jumper cables, the engine turned off. And it's like, whoa, how did, So
because that's how cars work.
Yeah.
It's my best bet is going to replace your battery, your alternator, you'll be fine.
Yeah, he's checking. So... then I'm like, how are you going to tow this out of this parallel parking spot? And he had a clever machine. Maybe I'll try to find a YouTube that shows how this clever tow truck works that can pull you out of a parallel spot. And then he's going to fix it up. And then this weekend I will sell it because, good God, I have to get rid of this thing. But I can't sell it if it's not fixed up. So I got to fix it up and then sell it.
Yeah, so you can leave that dent in it? Is that sold as is?
I'm gonna attempt to repair the dent, but really the dent is entirely on the bodywork. It is not. There is no under damage. The dent is entirely in one piece of the bodywork, right? And I'm pretty sure you can just pop it out. I just haven't popped it out because it's cold. If it was the summer, I would have had no problem laying on the ground, getting underneath the car, and hitting it a few times to see what happened. I'm going to try the hair dryer, and followed by cold method that I saw videos of working on YouTube. So
the dry ice method has worked for me many times in the past.
Yeah, so I'm going to attempt I'm going to not actually use dry ice because someone said that why bother with dry ice? Buy one of those cans of compressed air at Staples, turn it upside down, and use the liquid dry ice coolant.
Well, thus the conundrum of dry ice. Dry ice is a lot cheaper than using one of those cans of air.
It's real easy to buy a can of air. It's kind of, where am I going to get a piece of dry ice?
Just Google. I'm sure there's a bunch of places.
Yeah,
in the
but
city.
it's like you got to find a place. You got to get it in the styrofoam container. You got to get a towel around it. You got to grab it with the tongs and the rubber gloves and the
styrofoam container is just a beer cooler.
Yeah, but you got to, it's a whole to-do with the dry ice. With the can of air, it's a lot less work.
Plus, remember, there are a lot of distributors of dry ice all set to go. I mean, that's something you can do like when there's a heat wave. They'll give dry ice to the old people to put in their house to cool it down.
Mm. Still, it's work.
I wanted to do that at RIT, and I found out afterward we could have gotten dry ice for free.
Where?
At RIT.
Oh.
But we didn't, and we always complained about we didn't have AC, but we could have just cooled the house with dry ice.
My grandpa would always talk about how, how today, like if there's a butcher, they drive the meat around in a refrigerated truck. He's like, why do they have a refrigerated truck? Take a piece of dry ice, put a fan in front of it, close the truck. done. That truck will be colder than fucking anything. Way better than a refrigerator, and you won't have to power the refrigerator with gas or whatever. Yeah. Of course, you have to use energy to get the dry ice, so you'd have to do the math on that to figure out what's more efficient. But the dry ice is definitely colder than the refrigerator.
You don't want it to be too cold, though. You don't want to freeze the meat.
Well, no, but you do want it. If you're shipping meat long distance, you do want to freeze it.
It depends.
You basically have a big freezer truck.
It depends.
So,
sometimes you want to just cool the meat.
Yes, if you did just want a cool but not frozen thing, then you might have to, regulate the dry ice somehow, put it in a box, a little vent or something but it's manageable.
I look forward to the day when we make Peltier or something like it a lot more efficient, and we can just do everything with electricity.
I don't think that's happening. Notice how quickly they abandoned Peltier as a computer cooling method due to its crappiness.
Yeah.
Lack of ability to improve.
I think it can improve. Heat pumps and heat engines, we just have to figure out the molecular stuff better.
Yeah. Anyway, car is getting fixed now, and then I'm getting rid of it. Good God. Get out of here, car. I don't want you in. And then my new strategy, right, is because obviously the strategy of wait till I get money for a parking space did not work. So the new strategy is, wait until I have so much money that I can buy a new car and a parking space. And until I have that much money, do nothing. That's the new strategy.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, the nail in the coffin for me buying a car, again, was just the fact that Fresh Direct delivered groceries last night. And I realized that nothing is more awesome in the world than having every grocery you would ever want just brought into your apartment by people who would be perfectly willing to put it in your fridge for you.
Yeah. It's not even just, you think grocery delivery, that's pretty amazing. You can get delivery of fucking anything. Like, if you go to Bed Bath & Beyond and you buy, like, some bed sheets and a frying pan,
because that's what you're buying.
And a toaster oven, right? You can go to the checkout, and then you can go over to the other counter and be like, yeah, send this to my house. And they just bring it to your house. I think they might charge you a delivery fee, but
not that much, though.
No, it's not that much.
I've realized
I think everything in New York City, they have almost every place has delivery.
What it basically comes down to is everywhere else, I just had Amazon. So I bought 90% of the stuff I bought online, and it got delivered. Now I buy 99% of the stuff I buy, and it just gets delivered. And the other 1% is basically like street meat.
Yeah, I actually go to the grocery store, though, because it's right. I get off the subway when I get home from work, and there it is. And then I buy a food, and then I go home, and I immediately eat it. So it's like, it's a little better than waiting for a grocery delivery,
Yep. Well, I buy cheese and fresh bread at Grand Central.
Yeah, well, I have troubles with breads. I got to find some bread, actually.
My policy is pretty good now. I only ever buy brand new fresh bread from like a bakery or something.
The thing is, I got some bakeries, but they're the kind of bakeries that have like cakes and cannolis and shit, and I'm looking, and some of them have breads, but some of them have like long breads, or big breads.
But that's the best kind of bread.
It's a good kind of bread, but that's not the kind of bread that one person needs. I need like a bag of rolls or, a small loaf. I don't need like a big long bread.
Well, you can buy the big long bread, use what you're going to use, and crouton the rest.
You know how many croutons I'm going to have?
You eat a lot of croutons. It'll all work out.
I don't need that many croutons. I mean, a bag of croutons lasts me like a couple weeks. Unlike you, who eats the croutons like a snack.
Because they are a snack.
No, they're not. Snacks is snacks. Croutons is croutons.
So,
are you going to put Doritos on your salad?
BlackBerry might be in trouble again. I mean, the iPhone was never really competition for the BlackBerry. They were like two distinct products with two distinct kind of people who would use them.
Yeah, I mean, iPhone made a token effort to try to appeal to corporate people by putting in Exchange support and the Cisco VPN.
Dude, at work, I went to my corporate support people and I was like, hey, can we support the iPhone? Because I was thinking maybe I'll buy an iPhone. And they just laughed.
Yeah. It's not enough because they don't realize that the BlackBerry also gives all this other stuff, which basically is stuff that Steve Jobs hates. So
and
he's never going to
WebOS
do it.
Has basically, I think, relegated itself to the very solid kind of all the cheap default, like, person goes to the store and says, I want a smartphone. Eventually, I think they're all just going to be WebOS.
I don't know about that.
Like low-end smartphones is where I feel if WebOS survives at all, the low-end smartphone is where they're going to
end up. Like, though, that we actually have like real competition. We've got 5 real competitors, right?
Out of nowhere,
we got
too.
WebOS, Android, iPhone, BlackBerry, and Microsoft. 5. Look at this. What happens when there's actual competition? The thing is that's so depressing is that we have actual competition and people are stepping up the game, but nobody's really stepping up the game, And I think the reason for that is because even though there's a real competition in the smartphone OS arena, there is no competition in the carrier arena, and it's tied up. If the carriers were loosened or also had to compete, then we would see craziness happen. Absolute craziness.
Well, it's tough because there is competition if you live in cities. Like if you live in New York, Verizon, Sprint, and AT&T are all equal except for the fact that AT&T sucks. But like Sprint is super fast and they're a lot cheaper than Verizon. You get pretty much the same coverage. But if you live in a lot of places, you can really only go with one carrier, maybe two.
Yep.
I mean, T-Mobile's not going to work.
But I mean, it's
like
not
upstate.
just about coverage. It's about, pricing, and it's also about, their data networks and their data network policies and whether they allow the tethering, whether they charge, all that kind of stuff.
Yep. But
Yeah.
even with the competition in, WebOS and BlackBerry and everything, I think what it's really coming down to, and I didn't realize this until recently, is that patent encumbrance is probably the biggest, it's the biggest thing that's holding back having a smartphone that does everything right.
That is also very true.
Because everyone has patents on all these obvious good idea UI things that other people can't use.
That's not even UI things, right? There's a lot of other things that people have patents on that aren't UI things. Like, for example, for all the Verizon and Sprint phones, right? They use the EVDUs and all that stuff. All those people don't realize, right? All that EVDU CDMA stuff is owned by Qualcomm, right? There are Qualcomm chips in all Verizon and Sprint devices. And all the GSM, GPRS stuff, that stuff is all open standards. You can just make your own GSM network just in your house if you get the right radio equipment. Nerds have done it. You can go read about it. And there's even like some guy, he makes, I think he called it like the Magic Stick or something like that. And it's just a USB thing and you put it in your computer and it creates a GSM network in your house. And then all your cell phones will use that instead of the local antenna because they're getting a stronger signal from it. And you'll be able to make calls on your cell phone, no problem, over your internets with this little stick.
But little things too, like WebOS, the only thing it really has over the other, OSs is that they have this great all your contacts and chats and everything are just seamlessly integrated with each other.
That's the one thing that I really wish other people would get right, that only WebOS gets right. It's like, how come, right? iPhone doesn't even have iChat, right? That's completely retarded. Android, I guess, has some chatting, but it's not like it's all super integrated with your SMS and every single chat network.
Plus,
and
there's a bug. A lot of people are having this weird problem where their phone will just get duplicates of every SMS from some of their contacts.
Yeah.
And I still haven't heard any good resolution.
And then,
to that.
if you have, the Android has the best Gmail, but the Gmail is separate from all the other mail. So it's like you have all this other mail and then Gmail in two separate places.
Yep. And the actually, I will say, integrates with Gmail better than Google integrates with its own Gmail.
No, well, I mean, the actual Gmail app on the Android, I haven't used it, but every single person says that it is like the best, better than any other phone dealing with Gmail. But the problem is that it's all on its own. So if you also have like an IMAP, it's separate. Whereas on the it's together.
Yep, everything's just together, and it's all just push because it pulls and figures
all
it
your
out.
emails in one place, all your IMs and SMSs in one place. They're all, all your contacts are, span across the whole thing. So you only have one of everything. And that's what I like the most. On the iPhone, it's like everything is separated into apps. So your Facebook is over here, and your Skype is over there, and your email's over here, and you don't even have IM unless you pay for one of those stupid apps that I'm not paying for. And maybe even if you have IM, it's separate apps, one for AIM and one for something else. I want all IMs together, just like on the computer. Pigeon does all IMing.
Yep, of course, I used to run everything separately. I used to have multiple IM clients open at the same time back in the day.
Yeah, it's like we've gone back in time. And then you got no multitasking, so if you don't put them all together in one place, I can't even do more than one at a time.
Well, here's the real problem. It's that computers evolved to a certain point, and we solved all these problems on the computer because it's a multi-purpose device and it's open. Completely open, unless it's an Apple. And even then, it's relatively open. It's a computer. If someone makes a program, you can just install it. So, we evolved to a certain point. We as nerds who use our computers to the fullest have these expectations. But now, because we're mobile, we're nerds who walk around a lot. So, now that we've got smartphones, we carry the smartphone everywhere. And there are tasks that our computers are perfect at that we only did on the computer because we didn't have a computer that was in our pocket. Now we have a computer in our pocket, so we want to do all this stuff primarily on the phone, but the phone can't do it as well as the computer can.
And it's only frustrating because there's nothing wrong with the hardware. It's simply that someone did not write the software or will not allow the software to be written. There is no technological reason it could not be done.
Luckily,
or should not be done.
It will be done. In the long run, this is all just a convergence. Smartphones,
anyway,
iPads, everything are all just
the reason
converging.
we're talking about this is because of Windows Mobile 7.
Yes, Windows Mobile 7 is basically another pillar in this gigantic Via Paletti.
Yes. So here's my prediction for Windows Mobile 7, right?
Oh, let's see if we have the same prediction.
So you look at it and you say, okay, it's like Zune phone, basically, right? You know, the UI is, what you might like it, you might not like it. You know, the Facebook integration's really heavy. The thing is, here's what it's got. Ready? Number one, it's Microsoft. So it's got all the Exchange corporate stuff that anyone could possibly need. Therefore, BlackBerry, well, why do you need the BlackBerry anymore? Well, the one thing the BlackBerry still has is it's got the keyboard. So the need for the corporate people who basically write crazy long emails on their phones, you got to make a Windows Mobile 7 phone with a keyboard, which I'm sure they will make because it's not going to be like the iPhone where there's only one phone. This is an OS that's going to go on many phones.
I was watching a bunch of videos about it, and the Microsoft guy, I skipped through this part, but I remember him saying something about like what is required and what isn't required in the hardware they're going to use. Keyboard optional. Like he was like, yeah, keyboard doesn't matter.
Yeah, so people, there is an on-screen keyboard, obviously, because you have a capacitive touchscreen, which is absolutely necessary. But, there's going to be one that has a keyboard that will please the corporate people, and there'll be ones without, The thing is, right, in addition to that, it also has Zune. So it's got your music and your video and all that stuff that, nothing but the iPhone does. That's the thing with the iPhone that no one talks about except me, I feel like, is that, okay, the iPhone's closed, okay, whatever, Android, your mom, but the iPhone, if I had an Android phone, I would probably still need to have an iPod Nano because the Android is not good. It does it, but it's not good at audio and video and music and podcasts. This Google Listen and stuff, but it's not as good as having an iPod. And the iPhone is an iPod.
And the Pre is even worse at that because it had the good hacked together integration with iTunes, which gave me about 60% of what I needed from it. And it was good enough. And then Apple decided to break all that.
Yeah, Android is like 80%, but it's not 100%. It's all about if I can carry one less thing in my pocket, that is so much a bigger difference in my daily life.
See, sadly, I've gotten to the point to where I feel like at least for the next many years, I'm going to just have to have a smartphone and completely separate from that, an iPhone, some sort of like Apple media playing device.
Yeah, the new iPod Nano too is so crazy awesome. It has a fucking video camera. Good God.
Yep, and it's
right.
It's
and
cheap.
there is nothing to complain about with the iPod Nano, right?
Yep.
What can you possibly complain about with it? Nothing. So,
well, you know what I can complain about? It doesn't just download podcasts over the air.
Nothing does though.
I know.
Right? So it's not, you can't complain about them not doing something if no one's doing it.
You know what's going to? That stupid integration with Ford cars. That is like our only hope.
Oh, God.
Is that thing...
Microsoft is doing that.
Yeah, so my only hope is that thing will finally be the point at which I can just have podcasts that I just listen to on my phone.
Well, the Android does it with Google Listen, but Google Listen doesn't sync and down. I don't know, it's not exactly the same kind of thing.
See, because no one does both. They either let you sync from a computer and then listen, or they let you listen while you have an internet connection, but as soon as you go into a tunnel, you lose it.
Well, the Google Listen caches heavily, so it'll try to download the whole podcast.
Yeah, but you can't switch it up while you're in the tunnel. It doesn't keep
if you try to start a new podcast in the tunnel, I don't think that Google Listen will be able to play it.
So listen, kids, obvious app that for Android that would make everyone happy. Just have a podcasty or internet media listening, watching device that does video and audio, and all it has to do is you say what things you want to listen to and how much space or how many whatevers you want to allocate to it, and it'll always keep the most recent episodes cached on the phone. And it'll let you listen to anything streaming as long as you have a connection.
And then, if you do want to stream something, it'll download it. And if you're done listening to something, you can delete it and free up space for something else.
Yep, just have a little option of I'm done with this or not. Not deleting or undeleting, just I've already listened to this. And it still won't get rid of it until, it has to roll over because it ran out of space in its cache.
Yep.
No one's even tried to do anything close to that.
Nope, not even remotely. So the thing is, right, this Windows Mobile, it's got a Zune. So it's well, if I've got one of those, that now has sort of jumped ahead in that, well, look, there is now, it's not just the iPhone anymore. There is another phone that also is as good at music and video as the iPhone is. And it has, they support like the fancy OLED screens like the Zune HD. So it might actually be better than the iPhone at audio and video.
He's 2 more than X.
Right? So that's a big shocker. Now, here's the thing. I don't think it's actually going to compete with the iPhone in a direct way.
Nope.
I don't see people who are iPhone people going for the Windows phone.
Well, it competes with the iPhone in the same way that PCs or Dells just compete with Macs. I mean, some people were like,
not really.
In the sense that eventually, every now and then you'll snipe, or someone who like would be buying the next Apple product, like some nerd points out, hey, that Dell is twice as fast and half as expensive.
Mm-hmm.
But otherwise, it's not direct competition. They're competing with BlackBerry.
Yes. I think what's going to happen here is unless BlackBerry can step up their game, that in the long run, not in the short run, right, but in the long run, as corporate IT places slowly switch to Windows 7 and slowly their BlackBerries die and they need to buy new phones, they're going to get these Microsoft Windows Mobile 7 phones instead of the BlackBerry.
Or in the very least.
They're going to stop paying for BlackBerry Enterprise Server, right? And people don't realize, you think, iPhone is the number one smartphone. Not really. In terms of smartphone market share, BlackBerry is way, way, way ahead of everybody else. Simply because most people don't buy smartphones.
Well, here's
most people buy normal phones, so most smartphones are the ones people get from work for free, which are BlackBerries.
Straight up 100%, what would do it is if the BlackBerry Enterprise Server equivalent for the Windows 7 phone was just Exchange.
But it is just Exchange.
Yes, but if like Exchange just had like the phone tab and you could do everything you can do with BlackBerry.
But it does. It's had that for a long time.
With these phones integrated with everything that BlackBerry can do. Remote wiping phones, remotes, all the things you need to be able to do for corporate compliance reasons.
I'm pretty sure Exchange already does that for the Windows Mobile 6.5 phones. So why wouldn't it do it for the Windows Mobile 7 phones?
Are you sure, though?
I'm pretty sure.
Because how come no one uses them in a corporate setting?
People do use them in a corporate setting.
Not enough for it to matter.
I think it's just because, the BlackBerry name and marketing and all those sorts of things and, whatever.
I don't know, because at least every big company I've worked with they want to use something other than BlackBerry. They always explore the options, and they always come back saying, yeah, it doesn't offer this thing that by law we're required to have.
Oh, I'm not informed in these matters. So, but I cannot imagine that that Microsoft would not include the necessary things in Exchange for their own phones.
Well, I think the fact that they're launching this the way they are, and especially looking at the UI and like the way it's used, this is marketed differently from other Windows mobile devices. This is the convergence between the business phone and the home phone.
Mm-hmm.
So people like me who have like a work BlackBerry and a home pre are probably best served in the long run, sadly, not by a Droid, but by some sort of Windows device that'll do the work stuff and do the home stuff.
It's also kind of crazy that it has Microsoft Office in it, like all of Microsoft Office. Not like part at all. It's got, PowerPoint and Exchange and Word and the whole thing.
My pre's got something halfway there. I've got this Microsoft doc view that came with it that I can read any Microsoft like document.
Yeah.
And I can edit some of them.
Yeah, I mean, iPad was talking about how they have iWork. Yeah, well, it's like, Windows Mobile 7 has Microsoft Office. That's like game over right there.
Yep.
So I foresee Windows Mobile 7 being a lot like Windows in the long run, whereas it just dominates market share because it'll slowly eat away all of BlackBerry's market share, which
there are two markets
dominate.
that it'll probably never penetrate into, and those markets will become BlackBerry's like long-term, like permanent business plan. Government and military, because those people never fucking change anything.
No, they'll never change. Did you ever see that video of them asking Hillary Clinton to install Firefox at the State Department?
No, I didn't.
Oh, maybe I'll make that my thing of the day.
Uh-oh.
Next time.
Well, that went on a while, so things of the day.
Oh, shit. So I was going to do a different thing of the day, but then I was reminded of this video, so why not? I'll just make it the thing of the day.
I had not seen this video until just now.
This is from July of 2009, if you're, it's not new.
Wow, antique.
It's basically, it's a video of the U.S. State Department. It's basically like, I guess it's like the employee meeting.
That's the same kind of thing. Like when I worked at IBM or all those big companies, the government's no different. They'll have like big Q&A with big wig in the company, and everyone asks these pre-scripted kind of like lame questions like, Why can't we do this? Why don't we get more vacation?
So someone's like, why don't we use fucking Firefox? Why are we using piece of shit IE, right?
I get the
And
impression.
the thing is, right, you'd think, oh man, people are so stupid, right? But like the whole audience is like, woo!
And
So
Hillary
it's like,
Clinton-
well, smart people work in the State Department.
The best part is that Hillary Clinton clearly is taken aback and has no idea what this is.
She's
that they're
like,
talking about.
uh-oh, the whole room knows something and thinks something is awesome, and I have no fucking clue because I don't use a computer. I just have someone who does that for me.
Hey,
Other guy, answer the question.
And the other guy gave like the stock corporate answer of it costs money to do
Yeah,
things.
it's not actually free because you have to pay money to install it and stuff.
Which is technically true, but the
money you would save from people not having viruses in IE. You know, if you limited, what you could do is you could limit their IEs so that the IEs could only visit intranet sites, which are the ones that you might have that might be IE only. And then you could require all internet browsing to go in Firefox.
Yep.
And thus, you would eliminate viruses and spywares and malwares so much.
That's really to do. Just use Windows group
that
policy.
any money that it cost to get Firefox on there and to update it and such, and to make sure, prevent people from doing weird extensions or whatever, you would save.
Well, I mean, like at my company, we actually...
You don't even need to do a study to figure this out. I'll just tell you.
We actually
It's true.
push Firefox and IE updates simultaneously as part of all our other updates. So we force everyone to have Firefox, and we keep it up to date for them. So
Yeah.
it's just always there, always works.
Yeah.
Of course, I also have Chrome installed because it actually works better for a lot of our internal stuff than IE that it was designed for, because we use a lot of Ajax. And the one thing that Chrome is great at is anything with Ajax.
Well,
it just seems
any JavaScript, anything, Chrome is the fastest.
any client-side stuff, Chrome just seems to handle a lot better.
Yep.
If only Chrome could properly block ads.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there is an ad block extension, but it's a little
It basically, the ads go boop and then disappear. It's
Yeah.
great. I don't want the ad to download at all.
Yeah. And then, there's other things that Chrome, it just doesn't have the features that Firefox has when fully extended, I mean, they do have that little developer thing, not as good as Firebug. It's just, stuff.
Yep.
What's your thing of the day?
So in Arizona, well, of course, you remember, riding the bus as a kid. There were kids. Riding the bus was always annoying because kids are loud and punching each other, and the bully kids are bullying the nerd kids, and
You missed the bus?
what? Randomly, someone missed their bus on the way to work during the snowstorm, and my boss's boss starts singing "Crisscross, I Miss the Bus."
No, you're shitting me.
And everyone in the room is like, "What are you singing?" And I'm
this is
like,
your boss's boss. This is a high boss.
"Yes." And I'm like, I just look at him. I'm like, I saw them in concert, and no one had a clue what the hell that was all about.
Whoa.
So we reminisced about Crisscross wearing the pants backwards,
Missing the bus.
missing the bus, and jump, jump, jump.
Yep.
Yeah.
One word songs. I mean, the thing is, they had more lyrics than Andrew WK, though. I mean, jump and I miss the bus is 4 words. It's like,
They
and
had
then
other-
jump, that's 6 words. So
Yeah.
it's like, party is just 1 word.
They had other words than "I miss the bus" in "I miss the bus."
I haven't heard that song since I was
There's
in
a
4th
lyrical
grade.
narrative of the touching story of a young man who misses the bus.
I gotta go find it on YouTube.
Oh my god, I gotta see if I can find videos of their concerts.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, that was one of the earlier concerts I went to in my entire life. It was awesome. I remember thinking I was so cool. Anyway,
Crisscross missed the bus. Here it is.
great. So buses generally suck ass, especially for nerdy and smart kids who just want to read their book with the dragon on the cover, or talk about the D&D game. But the other stupid kids are throwing stuff at each other, and there's fights on the bus and all that BS. And in Arizona and in a lot of places, there are serious problems on buses, like serious fights. They put cameras on the buses to deal with the fact that
we had fights and cameras on our buses. I don't
Yep.
see how it's any different.
fights-
Unless they're stabbing. We just had fist fights.
the fights are getting more and more serious, like serious injuries, big trouble. So in
Okay.
Arizona,
We never had serious injuries. We just had fights on the bus.
in Vail, Arizona, where there are serious behavioral problems on the public buses because the bus rides can be up to 45 minutes long for a lot of these kids.
Uh-oh. Attention span. Short. Bus
So-
ride long.
For a couple $100, they put a wireless router that just gets internet from the cell network on the bus, on all the buses. And they give the kids free internet while they're on the bus.
The kids all have laptops?
Netbooks. Every freaking kid has a netbook outside of the
in
ghetto.
in
at
4th
this point.
grade?
Well, these are middle school.
Oh, okay.
kids. Elementary kids don't have the stabbing problems as much as the middle school and high school kids. But what they discovered is that if they give the kids free internet, all the behavioral problems stop. Straight away. There is no trouble on the buses at all. The kids are all completely quiet, just on Facebook the whole time.
Listen, any babysitter could have told you like 100 years ago, you slap on a Disney movie, kid sits down, shuts up, that's it.
I don't think a Disney movie is going to stop the 6th grade punk from stabbing the other 6th grade punk.
Listen, you know what you could do, right? If I was a bus driver, and I could save a lot of money because I just get a TV with a DVD player, a lot cheaper than internet, right? I'd put the same DVD on every day, right? But it would be an awesome DVD. Like, it wouldn't be...
What's it going to be that you're not going to get sick of?
Like Die Hard or something, right? And something that the kids would think was totally awesome and special. Like, holy shit, or like The Predator, right? And then, like, the kids would build up all these rituals around it, you know? Like every time during a certain scene, they would do stuff, and it would be like a total thing. And they'd remember that for the rest of their lives.
Every time the Predator kills that guy, they stab that kid.
Yeah, and then I could get the kids to, like, act it out, or they'd remember all the lines, and we could do fun stuff. It would be a cool time.
It's actually not that bad of an idea.
And not, instead of interneting, it would bring all the kids together around some sort of arts.
But I was thinking about why this works.
If you consider The Predator to be arts, which I do. Or Hokuto, I would just show all of Hokuto no Ken, new episode each day. There's 180 days of school. We would finish the show before the year was over.
Wow.
We would watch Hokuto no Ken in the morning, and then you could watch Rosa Versailles on the way home.
Then you get the next year, the 7th graders are like, they've seen it all already, and the 6th graders are
we
on
watch
the bus
Dragon
for the first
Ball,
time.
watch Pokemon, we'll watch whatever. One episode a day.
So the 6th graders are like, oh no, what's going to happen to Kenshiro? And the 7th graders have the lore.
Imagine
They're like, well, you haven't even seen Rao yet.
We watch a bus ride, right? Every day. Imagine like a bus got like 40 kids. They all go, "Wata!" all at the same time.
But I realized why this internet thing's working so well, and it's not just the babysitter syndrome.
They would fight each other, but they would use Hokuto no Ken, so it would be permissible.
Not the Fist of the Southern Cross.
It would solve the fighting problem in the reverse direction. It would make the fights, finishable.
And there are a lot of like anecdotes and like kids talking about it, and I think what's going on here is that all the nerdy kids who would get picked on or who don't have anyone to talk to are just talking to all the other nerdy kids elsewhere in the world with internet, because some nerdy kid in like Arizona has more in common with the nerdy kid in Germany and the nerdy kid in like Australia than he does with all the other kids on his bus.
Dude, I would just fucking bring my DS and play games. If I had it, I don't even need fucking internet on the bus. If I was a kid today on the bus, everyone would have a DS and everyone would be playing multiplayer games.
See, this is the thing. The kids do have these things, but there's still behavioral problems. The behavioral problems only
there's
stop.
Even behavioral problems with everyone playing DS games?
Scott, yeah, the whole point of this article is that the behavioral problems only stopped suddenly, like 100%, when they gave them internet.
Mm-hmm.
That nothing distracted them. Nothing they could bring, because the nerdy kid with the DS is playing his game, and the other nerdy kid with his Dragon book is reading his Dragon book. And the problem kid, takes the kid's DS and breaks it.
Why doesn't he have his own DS? Why isn't he playing against the nerdy kid?
Because it's the social stuff that's what matters. The fact that the kids want social interaction, many of them, but there's no one near them that they want to socially interact with. So what happens when you give them internet is the kids who are all internet are going to talk to all their internet friends elsewhere. I mean, look at how many kids today, they basically can't wait to get the hell out of high school because they have real friends on the internet, and they know that when they get to college, they'll just be real friends with the same kinds of people. Mm-hmm. And the kids who don't have that are the ones who are going to talk to each other and do the stuff on the bus. And the fact that giving kids the internet causes the problems to go away, but DSs and books and TV and all these other things don't, really points that social interaction is the root cause.
I think Fist of the North Star would keep them under control.
Possibly. It's hard to say. That might also lead to serious bodily injury.
But that would be okay bodily injury, like I already said. It would not be like, when kids tried to do fake wrestling moves. It would be like, one kid would hit the other kid, his head would explode, and that would be that.
So a long time ago, Google decided to make something that the world had not really seen. They made a social network.
Well, I mean, they didn't make Orkut. They sort of did. Like, a guy who worked for them made it, but he sort of... No, didn't he make it, but then Google bought him? It was something weird like that.
I forget exactly what happened, but Orkut appeared, and all of us jumped on it like, oh, wow, this is awesome. And then about 6 months later, the nation of Brazil discovered this thing, and that was the end of it.
Mm-hmm.
I believe it's still used in Brazil and nowhere else.
It says Wikipedia says it's one of the most visited websites in India and Brazil.
Oh, India, huh?
51% of Orkut's users from Brazil, followed by India with 20% and US with 17%.
Ooh, what? Those 17% must be people who came from Brazil.
Maybe.
Or India.
It could be.
Otherwise, it's impossible to use.
It's 60th in the world and has more than 100 million active users.
But it's funny how, people always come to me and say things like, why are you not on Facebook? You're so internety and you're so like ahead of the curve and all this internet stuff, and yet you don't use these social networks. And all I have to do is point back and say, I used the first social network and I realized everything that's wrong with them.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing was, Orkut failed. And now that I look at Facebook, and basically I didn't realize this fundamental truth about social networks until, oh shit, Google's trying again with Google Buzz. Google Buzz is kind of doing things the opposite way that everyone else did them. Look at Facebook and Orkut and all these things. They're walled gardens. Everyone looks at them as though they're walled gardens. They're like, I will put my information in this thing and I'll interact with people entirely within the context of this thing. And recently Facebook has like their interactions to the outside. Like it can be...
Well, Facebook has had that for a long time. They had Facebook Connect and you can make a Facebook app and Facebook can talk to any other website. Yep. You just got to go through their API, and Twitter's the same way. Twitter has an API and yep. Google has had open social for quite a while as well.
Yeah, but people didn't use that stuff a lot until people started using Twitter. Like a lot of people, unless someone else like set up an integration for them, they just lived in Facebook land. And then they had the rest of their internet life separate from Facebook land. But I think the whole walled garden thing is the cause of a lot of the problems we have with social networks, especially when it comes to privacy. And Google with Buzz seems to be taking kind of the opposite approach of that. It's not really a walled garden. It's just an interface. Like your point from Google just goes out in every direction with every possible means by default from the start. And I think that's why all the people who use Facebook seem to hate Google Buzz, and all the people who have not been using social networks up till now seem to love Google Buzz. Because it's weird, you look online and there's a lot of what people say about Google Buzz is really, really negative. People really hate it, and people are like, well, I'm not using Gmail anymore, and all these concerns about privacy, and like it's all the news about it is bad, except among the really tech people who don't use Facebook.
No, even the really tech people, if you look on all the nerdy, super nerdy sites like the Hacker News, they're all saying the same shit. They're saying, "Oh, Google Buzz privacy failed."
But
Google
they
Buzz
use
failed.
Facebook.
No, they don't use Facebook either.
I think a lot of them do.
They all just kind of use Twitter. Some of them probably use Facebook, but
I think a lot of them use Facebook. I think it's hard to not use Facebook.
Yeah.
I mean, I've only gotten away with it because I have my own private forum, and that kind of does all the things Facebook
I have
would do.
Facebook, but I don't use it,
I pointedly avoid
my Twitter
it.
forwards to it, but that's it.
Yeah, I very pointedly avoid it because I don't want to have to maintain it. I don't want, because it'll diverge. Like, that face of Rim on the internet would rapidly diverge from my face. In possibly a bad way. Also, people might message me in it and expect me to respond.
Yeah, people message me in it and I just ignore it. Well, if people try to send me say, join this club, I just click the ignore button. If they give me an invitation to an event, I just say no.
See, I don't even want to have to click. I don't want it to exist.
I could just ignore it, but I set it up so it sends me an email, just in case, because you never know. Someone might send me a message on Facebook that says, hey, want $1 million. So,
see, I don't want that risk. I don't want the risk of there ever being communication that matters over a channel that I don't want to maintain.
It goes through email. That's why I said, so it's not a problem.
But then unintended communication from Facebook, just by the mechanism design of Facebook, could slip through, and I don't want that either.
All right, whatever. So anyway, yeah, I think the people going nuts over this privacy thing, I think that the big problem is people have too much emotional investment in what it says on the screen. It's weird because at the one hand, they don't read what's on the screen. But on the other hand, certain things they read on the screen, they care about them too much.
Well, think of this. They hate reading what's on the screen, but they love inputting data about themselves on the screen, but they only want certain people to see that data.
Yeah, and it's I think there's actually room for a third place here, right? So you got the one place, which is Twitter, right? And Twitter, you post something and then the whole world can see it. And if you do the stupid private thing, what the hell's the point?
Yep, I never understood the private
I don't even know why
Twittering.
they offer that feature, right? So Twitter is you just broadcast to the world and that's that. And who cares if someone follows you or you follow someone? It doesn't really...
Well, it gets around the spam problem just with the very simple network of trust that you only follow people you care about.
Yep.
You can't get spammed unless you follow people who suck.
Yep. So, and then you got Facebook, which is, was originally more like Orkut, but then moved to being more like Twitter, where it's, with the status update model, right?
Yep. Of course, Orkut had the weird problem of it had all that status stuff, and that's actually what brought it down in the end, because people could respond to friends and friends of friends. and there was zero spam protection.
Mm-hmm.
Facebook has a lot of things to protect you from, I guess, obvious like Viagra spam.
Yep.
But it doesn't protect you from your friends being dumbasses.
But Facebook, Orkut also had the groups. Like, you'd join a group, and then you would get all sorts of shit from that.
Yeah, well, because a million people speaking Portuguese would join your group and talk about things unrelated to the group.
Yeah, I never understood what was going on. That's not reading again.
Yep.
But the thing with Facebook, right, is that you're only with your friends. But people seem to strangely really care, right? They don't care if you're following or not following on Twitter. At least I don't think they are. But they really care if you're friends on Facebook. So it's like if you don't friend someone who knows you, it's like they'll feel bad and you feel obligated, you know. And I don't feel that way at all. It's like
it comes out of the whole walled garden mentality. They look at Facebook as this thing separate from other things. So, and all the drama about Facebook comes of that idea. I mean, look at, you know, say like a lot of people have the problem of their boss sees that they're on Facebook and asks them for a friend invite.
Mm-hmm.
And now they don't want to actually say yes because they don't want their boss to see all the stuff that they shared with just their friends, but they don't want to say no to their boss because then their boss gets mad at them. And it's a no-win situation because they have these weird expectations that Facebook does not account for. And inside of the walled garden, there's no context for dealing with them.
Yeah, and I think also that something on... I don't know.
You going nowhere with that?
I was thinking about, I had something, and then I thought about the car that I had to go pick up when it's fixed.
Well, again, look at the walled garden. Another problem is that people expect that they can control what level people see of them. Like when they use Facebook, they expect that, all right, I will put this picture of me naked and drunk and like punching some like puppy in the face. You know, this is just what happened at a party. They want to share it with all their friends. They put it in Facebook and they say, only my friends can see this. And they somehow expect that that will protect them and that that picture is never going to appear anywhere else on the internet ever.
Yeah, that's something you got to realize. You know, you might post something on Facebook. Let's say I only have one Facebook friend in the world. It's Rim. And I post a picture of me, I don't know, dancing stupidly, right?
That is already on Flickr. Like the moment you sent that
Rim
to me.
can just take the picture and put it on the internet, right? So any privacy that you think you have is totally an illusion, right? People are all upset, oh, privacy this, privacy that. No, really, you don't have any. If it's on the internet, it's on, you might as well be on the front page of the newspaper. Anywhere on the internet, no matter how private you think it is. You make a Flickr account, you turn off all public photo posting, you turn off everything. You put it on Flickr, maybe some guy at Flickr is searching through and he sees your picture and he's like, oh man, it's the best picture. And it sneaks out somewhere, no one knows who did it, so he doesn't get in trouble, and then what are you doing?
Well, the trouble isn't so much. I mean, you can do things privately if you either use your own servers or software.
That's true.
But the trade-off there is that you can either do stuff in your own completely private walled garden, or you have to let other people in, which basically gives you no privacy unless you...
As soon as you let one person in, you're letting everybody in.
But people want to share information about themselves. They want to have like their photo stream and their updates and everything. But they have this weird hang-up where they only want them to go to certain people, which is also fine, but they don't trust the other people enough, or they rely on trusting the other people too much. And if you go too much in either direction, you're screwed. And they run into these weird social situations where they have their real friends, but then there's people who think that they're their friends, but they're not really. And they're confronted in these walled gardens with the fact that they have to either friend the person and give them access to this secret side of their lives, or not friend them and reveal the fact that they don't actually like this person.
Yeah, it's like because people are, you know, not high quality people, they have drama in their lives, then the internet forces the exposure of this drama due to the framework, you know, that the social network dictates for relationships.
Yep. And Google Buzz, I think the reason it's getting so much flack from so many people is that they have all these walled garden expectations, but Google is taking the exact opposite model and making it not at all a walled garden. It's just kind of a self-publishing thing. There's just you, and you just publish out to the world. And if you don't want to publish out to the world, don't. And that's it. There's kind of no middle ground.
There's a private button and a public button. I don't see what the problem was that people had. You know, it's like, well, if I have post a funny picture, I can click specifically who I want it to go to, and then push a button.
Well, the biggest problem I've seen people complaining about is that kind of by default, if you're using it, it'll add to the top of your friends list the people you email most often.
Yeah, and obviously there are people you email a lot that are not your friends. You don't want to be friends with. There was a big popular post that was like, you know, abusive ex-boyfriend automatically followed. It's like, so just unfollow the dude. You know, it's like, what's the big deal?
Well, I think what it's going to come down to is that people who I kind of get like when a walled garden is useful and when it isn't, and people who understand what is possible with internet privacy and what isn't, are probably all going to migrate toward Google Buzz or toward nothing. And everyone else is going to stay on Facebook. I don't think Google Buzz actually competes with Facebook, except that people who wanted something more like Buzz, who use Facebook just because it's the default that exists, are going to move if they can.
I don't see a lot of people going to Google Buzz because every post I see is, how do I turn it off? It's going to be like Windows Vista, where people have a false perception, and thus they all just turn it off and hate it and whatever. They're like, oh, it's getting in my Gmail.
The thing
Get out of
is,
here.
Google Buzz is brilliant because in the long run, I think the way it's going to go is that the things you publish out of it doesn't even need to be Buzz. It could be anything.
My hope is that it will be like Google Talk, where first no one really used it, but eventually everyone used it just because it was in their Gmail on their face all the time.
I think it's going to be more like effectively giving everyone the means to run their own social network, but it's not a walled garden. It's just, I put my updates out and they appear in whatever format everyone else would see them in. It pushes them to Twitter. It pushes them to Facebook. It pushes them to websites. But for me, Buzz is like the command console where I am sending out all the updates to everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
That's my hope for it. That's what I will use it for.
Yeah, because you're not, you have nothing to hide. You don't give a shit about stupid privacy.
I do have things to hide, and you know where those are?
What are you hiding?
We know what those are? In our forum. We have the Geeknights forum, and everyone uses it. And then we have the private part of it just for our actual friends. We made our own walled garden.
Yeah, but I'm not trying to keep that private because there's stuff in there I don't want anyone to see.
Well, no, I keep it private.
I keep it private because then people, it's not relevant to those people.
Scott,
so they'd just be like, what the fuck is this shit?
I don't know why you're trying to argue with me. I'm saying the exact same thing. I keep it private because it's basically walled gardens have a place. For example, in the private forum is where I'll say, hey, having a party at my apartment. Here's the address and the time.
Who cares if people, I don't care if anyone knows the address and the time.
I don't want to tell everyone in the world when I'm having a private get-together because then people will show up.
Did you tell, you have to specifically say, hey, you and you and you are invited and you are not.
And that's how I use the forum. I know that in my walled garden, only X people are there.
But the point is that I think people are just too concerned with privacy in general. And they're also, get upset when they see things that they don't want to see. Like that person who just saw that their abusive ex-boyfriend's email address was listed in the following thing automatically, got upset. It's like, it's just a name on a screen. You can get rid of it. Why are you upset just over the appearance of it? I get requests from people very, very frequently on the forum. They want the ability to block posts. And I'm like, just ignore it. If there's a thread that doesn't interest you, just scroll past it. If there's a comment that is someone is, you don't like that person, just don't read their comment. Just, use your scroll wheel. And people have a really hard time with this. They're like, no, I need to block it. I need to make it go away. And what Buzz does that makes a lot of people upset is that because Google is spidering the internet and gets all this information, it's grabbing all this stuff and putting it in your face, and you need to do stuff to make it go away, And me, I don't have this compulsion to click and make it go away. I'll just scroll past it. But other people, they had to keep clicking to make it go away. And what is it when you're clicking to make things go away? It's like deleting spam from your email. That's what it's like. So they feel like Google Buzz is spam, whereas something like Twitter or Facebook is not.
Most of the complaints I've seen actually weren't along those lines. They were along the lines of information about them got out that they didn't want out. And the biggest one is still the contact thing. Basically, it would show other people, the people you're emailing the most often. And a lot of people were not comfortable with the fact that information became public automatically.
Oh no, you know who I'm emailing because I have secret emails to this porn site, and now you know that I'm emailing this porn site every
That was
day.
a big problem with Firefox when they changed the way it would do a lot of bookmarks and suggestions and stuff. And it would people would always have 10 layers of bookmarks, and then under the kittens and the puppies and the taxes, way at the bottom was a folder called documents, and then there was all the porn links.
Why do you even bookmark a porn site? You can't remember the name of it? You can't just search for it on Google again?
But this was a problem because,
that's just people.
A 45-year-old husband who hides his porn links from his wife, suddenly the porn links are on the front of Firefox, here are the pages you visit most often.
Yeah, and here's the other problem, right? I think this is kind of why I don't have a problem with it and other people do, right? Is I look at that person and I'm saying, why this, the technology is sort of exposing you and making you confront a problem in your real life. Why are you hiding your porn links from your wife, who is supposed to be the most important person in the world, in your life, if you married them, right? If I had a wife and I had porn, it would be like, hey, honey, let's watch some porn, right? So the people who have privacy issues with this privacy stuff, right, are people who have personal issues that they need to resolve, and then they wouldn't have such a problem with it. Like, if I'm emailing someone else way often and you're bothered by that, then either that's you have an issue or I have an issue. I'm keeping something secret from you. Like, if my girlfriend sees that I'm emailing this other girl constantly, obviously I'm just a shithead who's cheating, or, you know, she is jealous and doesn't realize that that person's just a friend and is all bitchy, in which case, why is she my girlfriend?
Well, see, it's tricky because you don't want to go all the way down the slope of, if you got nothing to hide, then you don't care about people snooping on you. I think it's more that people need to understand what is possible and what isn't with privacy on a fundamental level, and independently, people need to be able to confront the ugly truths about themselves and their friends. And that's, I think, where 90% of the drama about privacy in social networks, Facebook, internet, everything comes down to the fact that a lot of people have friends, but they keep different of their friends at like different levels of information, and they don't want information to leak beyond all these kind of arbitrary boundaries they've set up in their own lives. But at the same time, they want to publish information to all their friends, and they're not technical enough to do it on their own. They're not good enough to do it in person.
So I watched, this is sort of relevant, right? I watched the TED Talk of Moot, the 4chan guy.
I still got to watch that.
And he was talking about how, you know, the internet, you know, he wants more things to be crazy anonymous like 4chan is, right? So I was like, maybe I will make something that is crazy anonymous like 4chan, but not 4chan.
An anonymous social network that's completely anonymous?
That wouldn't work because the social network is defined by identity. It's just, you couldn't do that.
You could do it if it was an anonymous social network where you create your persona and you use some sort of verifiable means of proving your identity when you're posting to it and you're doing stuff with it.
But then it's not anonymous.
It's anonymous in that you can prove that the person who made those posts before is the same person now.
But that's the point. Is it anonymous means every single post?
No, another way to have anonymous is that you have a verifiable identity that cannot be linked to your real identity. You can have a separate, completely like self-consistent identity that, unless you fuck up, is not linked to your real identity.
Yeah, but that's not the anonymous that we're talking about. Anonymous like 4chan is, you know, it's an anonymous
Scott,
post.
You're saying anonymous capital A because anonymity means there are a lot of grades.
That's what 4chan
anonymity
is. I mean, 4chan also has the feature where you can, you know, make an identity with a code so that, you know, people can verify you, but you can also post completely anonymously. No one even knows if that's a brand new person and that's, you know, you can't have that at all on a social network. So, you know, it's counter to the idea of a social network.
Well, but Scott, that's because you're using this very specific definition of anonymity.
Well, that's the kind of anonymous I was talking about. So anyway, I think that I'm trying to think of something I should make that is completely anonymous. But on the other hand, I should also make something that is like the opposite of anonymous. What it could be is make some sort of Facebook-like thing, right? Maybe even simpler than Facebook, but make it like real friends only. Because I've read a lot of these studies that show that even when people have like a Facebook, they actually only communicate heavily with like 4, 5, 6 people. People have a very small circle of people they actually communicate with extremely often, like, you know, wife, girlfriend, brother, mom, dad, you know, friend. It's, you know, that's pretty much it for like the vast majority of people statistically.
Yep.
Like 90% of their communication is with like 6 people.
But what they do is
they'll have like hundreds of Facebook friends.
And they watch all the update, like they did passively consume the updates from these other people, but they don't actually interact, except that those other people passively consume their updates.
So I'm going to make some sort of social network, right? And the way it could work is you only are ever actually going to friend those 6 people. That's the idea. You're never going to friend all these other people. You're only going to friend the real friends.
And it bears all 100% no matter what?
No. Well, you know, I mean, to those people, you know.
Well, yeah, that's the point.
You're right. But the thing is, how do you make it to where, how do you friend someone, right? How is that going to work? And the way it would work is you just sort of type in people that are your real friends. And it doesn't send requests to them, right? It just you just type in a list of your real friends. And then other people type in a list of their real friends. And where there is a match, it will actually friend you.
So
It
I
won't
make an account
send-
for someone who I know doesn't have an account on it, and I pretend to be them, and then I put in a list of everyone they know and wait for that, and then I basically man in the middle.
Okay, that we have to solve these
Yeah,
sorts of
there's-
problems. But you get the idea in that there would be some sort of system
30
whereby
seconds
which,
to compromise.
Yes, there would be some sort of system by which you would only actually friend the real friends. And
know
then
what?
if somebody was on it and they said, "Hey, why don't you friend me on the thing?" you would say, "I'm not on the thing." You know, you could just lie and they wouldn't know if you were on there or not. There would be no way for them to know whether you were there or not. So you could totally lie. And you would only, friend your mom, dad, brother, girlfriend, kids.
Of course, at the same time,
friend.
I feel like with Facebook, they should have grades of friends. Like,
Well, that's what I actually do have that on Facebook. I have two. I have a limit. What I do is I friend everyone on Facebook who requests, unless they're obviously like spam, like one of those fake non-existent people. And if it's someone I don't know, I just check limited profile. And if it's someone I do know, then I just say yes.
But see, I think it'd be interesting if you had a proper gradation of like, say, 5 levels, and you just could have like
You can
sliders.
set. They have that. You can set that up.
But they don't give you control over everything.
Yeah,
They're
they
like-
do.
No, Facebook, there are a lot of things where you can't control 100% between different groups, like how much they see.
I'm pretty sure that you can say like, anyone on this list, allow them to do this and this and this, but not this and this and this.
Yes, but a lot of those
And
this and
anyone
this
on
and
this
this
list,
is a lot of those this and this and this is are all or nothing.
well, they're like, post on my wall, see my wall, show their posts in my feed, don't show their posts in my feed, allow them to see my address, allow them to see my phone number.
One thing
allow
that
them to see,
Orchid, I remember it doing something along the lines of you kind of noted how much of a friend they were, and I like that idea because you can have like your layers of friends very openly, like these are my best friends. I'm friends with you
But
people.
then you
I know you people.
then you still have that same problem where it's like, someone requests to be a friend with you and they put 5 and you put 1.
But the thing is, that has always been a problem in humanity. That is just the fact that a lot of people have really fucked up social interactions with their neighbors and friends.
My hope is that in people being forced to confront their social problems will fix them, but I know that the reality is probably not the case.
Yeah, but
It'll probably just make more drama.
I just think all the drama comes out of the fact that people have drama in their real lives, and it just spills over into the privacy, quote unquote, debate of social networks because information kind of automatically exposes truth over time.
Yeah, people have lately been talking about like, the old quote, information wants to be free. And people are like, information doesn't want to be free. Information can't want anything. And I'm like, wow, way to not get a, metaphor, analogy.
Well, it's more that information reveals all that is hidden, and in the end, there's no way around that.
Yes, the thing is, what information wants to be free means, right, is that once a piece of information has been revealed, right, it is incredibly difficult to bottle it up.
What has been seen cannot be unseen.
Keeping a secret requires lots of effort and energy and difficulty, right? It's the momentum of information is to spread, the same way that it's hard to hold a boulder at the top of a hill, but it's real easy to let the boulder roll down the hill.
Think about where the drama comes from. People, they leak information out a little bit, and then they don't want it to get any further than it already got. And if it does, they try to like put it back in.
Yeah, you can't do that. I mean, or it's incredibly difficult to do so. Information wants to be free in that it is like a boulder at the top of a hill. Once it is set loose, once it is out of your mind and comes out of your mouth and someone hears it, now it can be replicated trivially and spread around the whole world with no effort whatsoever. Just like it requires no effort whatsoever to let the boulder roll down the hill and crush the houses and the cars at the bottom. But it requires a great deal of effort to you just told someone, oh shit, don't tell anyone that. Then you have to watch that person, make sure they don't tell anyone that.
Or just
and if they
murder
do tell anyone,
them.
right, it's incredibly difficult to keep a secret. Any information that has been let out, it is super impossible to not let it get out even farther and farther.
Here,
and farther.
I see where you're
that's
going with
what
this.
information wants to be free means.
I want to pull the debate all the way back
So
out now.
once you have typed something into Facebook, regardless of your Facebook settings, you have effectively pushed the boulder over the top of the hill and it can just roll down.
So allow me to pull the argument all the way out now, because this is where it's all going with. So, regardless of how much people want to have their walled gardens of, they want to publish their data, but they want walled gardens. They only want to publish it to certain people. And that works for things like, I'm inviting you, my real friends, to an event. I'm doing this. Let's do it. When you're making plans with friends, that's no different than calling all your friends. It's just a more efficient way of doing it.
Mm-hmm.
But when they put out information like pictures of me naked dancing on top of a flagpole,
it's going to be on College Humor tomorrow.
yes. But when they want to hide these sorts of things, they're forgetting the fact that in the long run, data aggregation of stuff that is out there can figure stuff out about you, whether or not you have ever published it outside of a walled garden.
Well, think about this. If you were dancing naked on a flagpole, odds are, whether you go to Facebook or not, someone else took a picture of you on top of the flagpole, and it's on the internet already.
Well, if you say you did it in your house, so no one was
you
there
have a
but you.
flagpole in your house?
Yeah, and you took a picture of it. Well, if you put that picture on the internet, you effectively did the flagpole thing outside in the first place now.
Yeah,
effectively.
Basically.
But, like, people want privacy, like your anonymous stuff. Anonymous breaks down in one very fundamental way. Algorithmically, you can figure out who someone is based on their style of typing pretty accurately.
Yep, that's true.
Or even if you can't figure out who someone is, you can statistically correlate and do things like, this person, we have a 99.9% likelihood that they're responsible for all of these 1,000 posts over the last 3 years and all these different social networks. And oh, look, he was posting an anonymous and he was posting anonymously in all these different places. But he also has a LinkedIn profile and we're pretty sure it's the same guy. Now you're fucked. Now it's all linked.
Yep.
And eventually there's
like if you go and you make some, let's say you have a blog, right? And you have 2 blogs. You have one blog for all the stuff you don't want people to know about, and another blog for the stuff you do want people to know about, right? Your clean stuff. People, right? They find the bad blog. Let's say both blogs get popular, right? Or even let's say only the bad blog is popular, right? But nobody knows it's you, and only the people that you want to keep the bad blog a secret from, they look at the good blog. They don't know about the bad one. Or maybe they know about the bad one, they don't know it's you. That's 2 samples of data that they can use and compare and then figure out it's you with science. So the only way to keep something private, like that bad blog, would be to make the bad blog and then never make any other posts on the internet other than that.
So I feel like really there are 3 levels of privacy that will exist in the long run. And we won't have problems anymore once people understand this, but I don't know when people will understand. I mean, people still don't understand that it's a bad idea to take a picture of yourself holding your illegal gun and then putting it on YouTube and be like, check out my illegal gun. Of course, there was an article a while ago, I think it was in Oregon, where some cop was basically saying that they arrest so many gang members with illegal guns and drugs because they just posted on like YouTube and Facebook.
Nice.
He was like, I hope they never figure it out.
Nice.
He's like, I don't think they realize how easy it is for us to find them.
Maybe this is why crime is way down.
Huh, maybe.
Crime is way down.
If
Big time.
I just think there are people who are above the line.
Usually you would think that even though crime has been going way down since the 90s, you would think that with the recession it would have gone up, but it went down.
Well, the thing is, it's weird. It did go up in some places, but it went down in the places people traditionally expected it to go up, like the cities. I mean, New York City is having, like, no crime. Like, it's kind of scary how little crime there is here now.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that the economy kind of, fuck up.
Still.
But privacy, I mean, there's actual private, like, I have the naked picture of myself that I don't share with anyone in a way where they could also share it with someone else. That's the on my own private server, encrypted on my USB key.
Or how about you took a picture with a Polaroid and the Polaroid is in your house in a drawer?
Yep, all the real security. Like, you don't share these things, or you share them within a walled garden that you maintain.
The thing is, there are whole websites of ex-boyfriend. When we were going, he took a video of me, but now he posted on the internet.
Well, that's why, I said there are 3 levels. That's level 1. You are the only one who has actual mathematical control over that data. And you might show it to someone else.
Something that you thought and have not said.
Or you show it to someone, but you don't give it to them. So they can say, yeah, Rim has all these naked pictures of Pikachu, but you don't have any evidence of this other than you said you saw it. So now it's a matter of, do they trust you or me? And there's no evidence. I have a lot of naked pictures of Pikachu, by the way.
I'm sure you do.
Actually, I do have one that I didn't keep it, but I saw it. Remember when we went to Bay Imge to see what was going on there? And it was nothing but Pokemon porn and pedophilia.
What, is Bay Imge still around?
I don't even know, but last time we checked, it was basically 90% Pokemon porn, 9% Digimon porn.
Okay. Oh, looks like it's still around.
How much Pokemon porn is there?
I don't know. Ranma is the biggest tag.
Oh my god, I'll bet it's porn.
No, it's actually, I think it's all of Ranma, the manga.
Oh. Huh.
Okay.
Huh. I feel like torrents are a better place to do that.
Yeah.
But level 1 is I control it. Level 2 is trust. And this in the far future, the only thing that matters in all of technology is trust networks. Because you're a being, an identity, you're knowledge. And you choose which other knowledge identities you will trust with information and with links to your information. And trust networks are 100% secure unless someone in your trust network is a fucktard, and then you're done, and your whole trust network is compromised. So you really have to decide who you trust in the world, and if you trust them, you're pretty much gonna have to trust them all the way. Level 2 is, I trust this person, and that's the walled garden of, what people try to do with Facebook. That's I'm having a party at this place, and I only tell people in the walled garden. As long as you trust everyone in your walled garden, and you trust the walled garden, you're 100% safe. But if you want to publish information anywhere outside of those two levels, you've basically got to publish it to the world, and just no holds barred, no holding back, no going back. And I think those are the only 3 levels of privacy that will ever exist in the future.
Possibly.
And I think the second one breaks down for the majority of people, because people have this weird meta problem where there are people who expect to be in their trust network that they don't actually trust. And they will either make the mistake of trusting that person, in which case they just compromise their entire trust network. That's equally bad to the nerd who PGP signs a key that they don't trust. They're fucked if they do that. Or they say, I'm not going to trust you, but now they've admitted, I don't trust you.
And then it will make drama for them because they are fail.
But in the long run, you basically have to cut off the people. If someone's going to cause drama because you refuse to trust them, you have got to cut them off, because you will never have good interactions with that person.
Yeah. So I think, in summary, privacy problems on the internet really boil down to 2 things. It's not whether Google or Facebook gives you the features necessary or anything like that. You can't blame anything on them. The 2 things to blame are A, people's technological incompetence, not understanding what they're doing, which it is always clearly documented. In fact, privacy is so well documented that every freaking site in the universe has a privacy policy that tells you everything, and they're usually in plain non-lawyer text, or at least have a plain non-lawyer text component. And 2, in addition to the technological incompetency, people just have actual social privacy trust problems that they need to resolve, and that's their real privacy problem.
That really, I think, accounts for the majority of all the Facebook drama. Is just real life drama that suddenly came to a head because technology forces you to confront the harsh reality of the fact that you don't like that asshole.
And then they're able to pass the blame onto Facebook somehow. Like, Facebook's supposed to know that you just broke up with that guy, or Google's supposed to know that the person you emailed 1,000 times, and said all these good things to was actually an evil ex-boyfriend.
Google eventually, or something like Google, will know, because that stuff's all statistical. Remember way back at RIT, there was that cool app that would take a sample of writing of more than 50 words and tell with pretty much 100% accuracy whether or not it was a man or woman who wrote it.
Yep. That's the kind of stuff.
So, we're going to have algorithms eventually that can look at all your email and tell you not only who you've dated, who you're currently dating, who you're cheating with, who you should be dating.
Well, it's the same with anything. We're eventually going to be able to just look into your house and see everything with a satellite, and we're going to be able to, read your brain and see what you're thinking.
Now, here's the thing. I feel like this is where the 3 levels of privacy come in. You are responsible ultimately for your own privacy. And if there is something that for whatever reason, either for shady reasons or legitimate reasons, you want it to be private, the onus is 100% on you to maintain that privacy.
Yeah, people keep thinking that there's some sort of right to privacy, and
I think there's a right to your right is the right to protect your own privacy within your own legal means.
Yeah, that's exactly it. If you look at the Constitution, it doesn't say you have the right to the privacy that shall not be infringed upon. It says, right, the government shall not make unwarranted searches and seizures, which pretty much means if you want something to be secret, you can keep it a secret. And as long as the government...
It's a secret to everybody.
Right, and the government cannot come and take the secret by force without a warrant, right? And
well, we got problems with that, but that's another issue.
So that's really the only time I'm going to be angry about privacy is if the government makes an unwarranted search and seizure, which they do, and that's something to be very, very concerned about, right? But as long as as long as that's not happening, right, it is possible for you to keep something a secret if you want to.
Well, here's the other thing. The other body of law...
Because if anyone else who isn't the government tries to take it by force, they're breaking the law.
All right, Captain Interrupty.
Yeah.
I'm going to interrupt you because the other big component you're completely ignoring in the body of law is all the precedent regarding a reasonable expectation of privacy. And I think that is a good body of law, and it's a good standard, the reasonable expectation of privacy.
It is good. The problem is...
I know where you're going with this. The 2 problems are that, 1... different people, due to their misunderstanding of technology, have different expectations of what is reasonable when it comes to privacy. And 2, we've got this problem where there is technology that basically makes it to where you can't effectively have a reasonable expectation of privacy anywhere unless we make better laws to handle that. I think I
definitely think the other problem is that the people who exist now have a reasonable expectation based on, a world in which certain things are not true. And because of the advances of science and technology, those basic assumptions upon which their reasonable expectation were based are no longer true, and thus their reasonable expectation is no longer reasonable.
And
but they are still living with their old reasonable expectation.
And the reason this comes about is pretty simple to explain, even to non-technical people. It's the fact that the laws and all the rules we followed before are perfectly valid, but they break down anytime you can have machines iterate and automate. So you have no expectation of privacy in the street. If someone's just walking down the street and they're just videoing you, that's awesome. There's nothing you can really do about that if you're both on public property. So that was fine in the old days because not everyone had cameras. Not everyone's going to be filming everything all the time. With computers and technology, I can just put a camera on every street corner and film every street 24/7 and just make that public.
Yep. The only reason you can't do it in New York City is because you need a permit to set up a tripod.
Yep, but you can use a monopod.
Maybe.
I've seen people using monopods to get around that. I don't know if that works or not, but it's basically just a stick with a camera on top.
You could get someone maybe for littering or vandalizing or dumping or something.
But no, what if the government did it? I still stand by. I think the best thing we could do for like New York City right now is to have public cameras that record everything that's going on.
What do we need them for, though? I agree that there's nothing wrong with...
what do we need them for? One, it'd be really cool, because I could go watch myself walking down the street and figure out if I have a funny gait.
They have some cameras. You can on my television, there's a channel I can watch that shows like 3 different cameras of what's going on in the city in different places.
Yeah, but I want more of that. And I want... 2, I would use it to... Whenever I am wronged, I'm of the mind, at least, that almost every time I've had an altercation in society, I was in the right. And were there a black
Everyone
box...
always thinks they were in the right.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure I'm in the right most of the time. So imagine if we had the camera and I could just go back and be like, okay, so fat indignant woman, you're claiming that I bumped into you? Well, let's roll the tape. And you see the fat indignant woman like backing up without a beeper and then slamming into me. Or like recently, there was a big news story in New York, during the blizzard. One whole street in Manhattan, I think it was in Manhattan, like every car on it got totally smashed in the side. Like it looks like a plow just went down the street, just...
Probably what happened. And
the city's like, well, there's nothing we can do about it because you can't prove it was a city plow and there's a million private plows that drive by and it might have just been some drunk guy.
It's true.
And there's no camera, so all these people were wronged and there's no way in the world to figure out what happened.
They have insurance.
Yeah, but that sucks.
It does suck.
This has been Geeknights with Rim and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for the opening music, Kat Lee for web design, and Brando K for the logos.
Be sure to visit our website at frontrowcrew.com for show notes, discussion, news, and more.
Remember, Geeknights is not 1, but 4 different shows. Sci-Tech Mondays, Gaming Tuesdays, Anime Comic Wednesdays, and Indiscriminate Thursdays.
Geeknights is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution 3.0 license. Geeknights is recorded live with no studio and no audience. But unlike those other late shows, it's actually recorded at night.